You ever just had the urge at like a water park when the lazy like river people are walking over, you just kind of do a little piss on them, like just a little sprinkle? No. All right. So
No.
okay, there goes you as a character witness then on the stand. Anyway, oh shit, recording. Hi, my name is Brister XC, or you can call me Brian if you so insist. I'm here with.
Pipsqueak, or you can call me Pip, or any number of things.
Yep, I call her Toboggan.
He does. It's a real problem, actually.
Real problem. Yeah, the Canadians hate me. Anyway, we welcome to the first ever Dabble in Babble podcast. That is not true. I've done 10 of these before, but they're by myself and by a different me. And that me is now dead and buried in my backyard.
He told me if I don't do this episode with him, I'll join him.
Yep, I'll bury both of us.
Our careers are going to be buried after this.
You're trying to be a lawyer, my guy. I'm not trying to be shit.
Just remember, you work in the medical field. If they see this, we both go down.
I work as a janitor, okay? All they care about, they don't care if you speak English half the time. Let alone, like, what you're talking English. They're just happy you understand. It's like, what? Yeah, sure, go ahead. Talk about how much you want to piddle on those poor, fat vacationers. Just want to
Be
break away
very
from their
careful.
kids.
Or starting off on a very high note.
Yep, that's one way to describe it.
Yes, podcast. My good co-host here has hosted a podcast before, 10 episodes, which is pretty impressive, as well as a very prestigious career in the Five Nights at Freddy's voice acting scene.
Don't get me fucking started on that. Look.
Starring as the main man, Bonnie Bunny Bear. Bonnie the Bunny, I think.
Bonnie Bon, Bolivia, body swapper, bodybuilder, body type.
Yes.
Bonnie the Bon Bunny.
So after numerous games of Civilization 5, it was really more of like coming to his door, begging for a chance to join him in this pursuit, and finally he took me under his wing, and now we're here.
I am the old prospector, lives in these hills, and you're the new springers. Like, I heard them gold, and my mama's sick. I need to buy them snake oil pills, and I'm just like, Sonny, I ain't been in those hills for a long time. They take your soul, but like, but mister, I need them snake oil pills. I need the man in the top hat and the monocle come on the train, them demon mechanical horses. I need a snake oil pill so my mama can stop bleeding from these weird pills. And I was like, okay, and then we go fight Native Americans.
You know, even when I start the bit, you somehow still manage to just outdo me in it.
Just try harder, forehead.
I sure will. But yes, our first episode of the Dabble and Babble podcast, and we have a little bit to talk about, actually.
Yep, it's not your friend's weird podcast where he says, "Come listen to it. We have a really funny." It's just them two talking about local sports scores. No, we have real things to talk about, like Moonknight.
Oh, Moonknight. All right, so I've been actually preparing for this a little bit. Yes, here it is. I actually have in my hands.
Her real
fuck!
hands.
I misplaced my Moonknight comic. Instead, I have Valkyrie. I've never even read this comic. All right, I was going to do a bit, but yes. So Moonknight, obviously, everybody's talking about Moonknight with the Disney Plus show, but you see, me and my co-host Brister here are social. We have no social life. We're nerds who spent our childhoods reading comics instead of good old-fashioned American traditions like scraping our knees and harassing the people we have crushes on.
I did still scrape my knees. Like, violent. I still have... if you don't have weird patches of skin on your knees, you didn't have a childhood. And we don't... And I got those. Mostly out of just pure inexperience of the outside world, because I was a fucking houseplant more than I was a living, breathing child.
Some things never change.
Yep.
But I started this tangent just because... obviously, you and I both have some experience with the character, and I wanted to ask you about what got you into Moonknight. What point did you sit down with the character and go, I really do love this story about a man battling his mental health and supervillains?
Well, it started Because I have a local comic store, Jaff Comics. Shout out
All right.
to them in this non-existent marketing power that we have. Uh,
One day.
I wanted to get into comics, and of course, I grew up, Sam Raimi, Spider-Man, Incredibles, all that kind of stuff, superhero
Yeah.
nonsense. And when I got older and started getting income, I told my mother, hey, first of all, I looked up local comic book store, found one that was like next to a tattoo parlor and a defunct guitar shop, and I thought, this seems like a reputable place to purchase illicit goods. I'm surprised it wasn't a cover for like fucking illegal reptiles.
It probably is, and you just didn't notice.
Nah. Once I went in, it was real small and cozy and real nice. All the people were nice, and I was talking about like, oh, what comics? They asked me, of course, because I'm a new customer. What comics are you into? He's like, I don't know. I like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Spider-Man. What are you into? And the person behind the desk was like, Moon Knight, and I was like,
Oh.
who the fuck is Moon Knight? And they told me about it, and so I eventually. They didn't have any comics books at a time, but they pointed me to the direction of like some videos talking about him. And I just did my own research,
Heck yeah.
like a good vaccine denier, and I just.
Oh, we're leaving that one in.
Yep, you can't pause it.
Oh boy, continue, please.
But yeah, I just looked into the character and I just fell in love with him because we both had the same thing of trying to explain Moon Knight to other people, and most often we have to default to it's like Marvel's Batman.
Pretty much, yeah.
And the thing is. It works, kinda, except that imagine if Batman, instead of like getting determination through his, trials and tribulation, he just got severe brain damage.
Pretty much, yeah. No gunshots will do that.
Yeah, no. Yeah, but what attracted me to the story of Moon Knight is that the character is just so unlike most superheroes in that he's just so flexible. Like already the battling of multiple personalities lends itself to a lot of different creative lanes. And the thing about comics as a medium that I discovered is that it's sort of this thing where there's no singular voice for a character if it goes on long enough. It's really a medium that's constantly reinventing itself. And for shit like Spider-Man and Batman, that can be very drastic because some people have this idea of a solid base of like what is Spider-Man. Like that's why you get assholes like me saying this. Sam Raimi Spider-Man's still the best Spider-Man. I don't care what this fucking dweeb.
You are indeed an asshole for saying that.
I am. I still believe that too. And I still believe the Confederate will rise again.
Oh, oh, only you.
I live in Pennsylvania. Don't worry. I know how to my way around a red, dirty Greybacks. They're not a real people. They can't get offended.
I shouldn't say what I was going to say. Please, continue with Moon Knight and not your South will rise again beliefs.
More like the South will die again beliefs.
Hey,
yeah. But yeah. So yeah, people have this like solid concept of what a character is when it has enough canon to where like it's like an average basically of like there's so many different data points on a graph that eventually it just mediums out and people kind of gravitate towards their idea of one. And so Batman generally big, brooding detective, always serious. Spider-Man, jokey comic book person with a lot of heart. And when comics do what they do best, which is stray away from that, give you new things, sometimes it can really backfire. But with Moon Knight, he doesn't have that baggage because he was already born of a fucking weird circumstance. Like he's never sold that good, and so what always happens to good comic books anyway is that when they start not selling good, people are given more creative freedom to do whatever the fuck they want with it, and then good shit gets produced. And
alrighty.
So Moon Knight has just been constantly redeveloped and whatnot, and it's just fascinating to see all the different sometimes it's hunting werewolves, sometimes he's just fighting the internal machinations of his own mind, sometimes he's helping fucking vampires and shit. It depends.
I watched a really great video from Comic Drake, and he was going over the origin of Moon Knight's DID, or multiple personalities, or plurality as it's been called, and he went back through the earliest days of Moon Knight onto modern Moon Knight, and the interpretations changed a lot because, as you know, and I know, and as some people out there might know, Moon Knight originally, his alternate personalities weren't personalities, he was essentially role-playing. They were characters he'd take the guise of. they weren't distinct individuals from himself, and the fact that it changed from he put on a mustache and a cabbie hat to he is a completely different person.
Yeah.
The moment he steps in that cab it's been a long journey from A to B.
Yeah, that's the thing with older comics, that every old comic book hero and villain had to have an alter ego. Like Catwoman famously had a alter ego where like she would knock herself out and like wake up as Catwoman, which is more Moon Knight than how Moon Knight started out as.
Yeah.
But
God, I forgot about that.
Yeah, comic history's the golden ages, man. They did morphine was way more fucking available back then.
If we're talking about the 80s, they skipped straight from that and went to injecting smack straight into their eyes.
Eyeballs, and it was like, let's make a guy from hell who can spawn chains from his nipples. We're gonna make a fucking revolution.
Never forget about that time they made a parody character named Overkill, and I think like 2 years later they gave him a comic and named him Overt Kill.
Ever see that video of Stanley fucking ripping apart Seth MacFarlane and not Seth MacFarlane? I don't know, one of the McFarlane. There's a lot of people famous in the industry that are named McFarlane, which is weird.
As a matter of fact, I did, though they weren't wearing many clothes when it happened.
Yeah, I don't remember. They were drawing Overkill, and
yeah,
they invited Stanley over, and Stanley was just like, "This is what happens. How does he put on these boots?"
I always find it so funny because Overkill's legacy is he was a hilariously edgy character, and when you think of him now, you think of him as a villain, a Spawn villain, an equally edgy but yet beloved character. Overkill isn't even remember. I think the most cultural relevance he has right now, he was in the HBO Spawn miniseries, but that was also very obscure. The most relevance he has right now is a throwaway line in Mortal Kombat 11 if you play Spawn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of ties in the fact that Moon Knight is always just not sold that well, because again, he doesn't have that marketability, because before, like I said, he started out as just guy with many alter egos.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, once, comic books were selling this and new people came in, it's like, hey, do whatever the fuck you want. They started going with more extreme methods of portraying Moon Knight.
Just a bit. I remember I discovered Moon Knight through a very similar method. There's a local comic book shop called Dreamland Comics, I believe. And I don't know if it's like a big thing in your area. However, at least in my state, we have supposedly National Comic Book Day, where this comic book store would give out a free comic to whoever came in. And I remember one time my parents had taken me there, and I picked out a comic. The first issue of Brian Michael Bendis' Moon Knight run, the iconic one where the voices in his head are replaced by the Iron Man. Is it Iron Man? Wolverine, Spider-Man, and Captain America, not Iron Man.
Yeah, Captain America.
And I always remember that comic for very many reasons, because obviously even as a kid I wasn't super into superheroes, but I knew Spider-Man because I had watched the first Raimi movie. I knew Wolverine because I watched X-Men. And I knew who Captain America was just through word of mouth. And that first issue, I was like 10 when I got this comic, and I'm reading it. And that first issue, they have Moon Knight. He's there as well. He immediately goes in dressed as Spider-Man and fights a bunch of kung fu strippers.
Yeah.
And it's a crazy first issue. And I didn't finish the the Bendis run. I got a few comics in, actually. But just, I was a kid and I didn't have easy access to comics, so I never finished it. But 10-year-old me was enraptured, because first, there's this cool guy in the cloak, and then he's Spider-Man, then he's fighting. This is my first ever interaction with women in underwear as a child, so that left its mark.
God, now you're not allowed in the public pool again.
I'm not allowed in there for a lot of reasons. But after that, my next run in with Moon Knight was by the 2013 run by Warren Ellis, who, from what I hear, is a disgusting sex pest. Don't at me.
Yep.
That was the first Moon Knight issue I finished, and it was incredibly striking because I knew Moon Knight. I didn't know Mark, so differences in characterizations weren't too big to me. But it's such a moody, haunting run at times, and that really left me with the lasting love I have for Moon Knight. And
Yeah.
I've seen fan films made of it. You know, lots of art. I remember I went to a local convention a while back, and me and my father had posters commissioned, and one of them was of Moon Knight. And so I've loved the character for a very long time.
It's weird because Moon Knight has a very messy background when you come to look at it. Like, actually, Michael Bendis, I think, actually went on to write Spider-Man. I think in a
Yeah.
run that he did not that people did not like.
I believe, and I could be very wrong, Bendis wrote Miles Morales.
He did. He made the most boring version of Miles Morales.
And I love Miles, but yeah, Bendis is good at taking something and giving it a lot of potential, but usually you need someone else to fulfill that potential.
Yeah.
I always remember the only other big Moon Knight comic experience I had was I read Heroes for Hire, which was very good comic series. And I always remember, I don't know what was with Moon Knight and strippers, but in one run of the comic, I forget exactly what's going on. I think some guy in a purple suit, his name's like Vanguard or Sentinel or something, is sent into, or Steve Harvey, I don't know, sent into this club, and it's a prehistoric themed club. And I always remember this line very distinctly. They're teaming up with Moon Knight for this run, and this isn't a clever line, but the characters are in like some scaffolding above, and they're looking down at the strippers dancing, and Moon Knight just says, "I'm never gonna look at Fred Flintstone the same." That line is burned into my brain. There's nothing. Continue.
That's actually a very good example of why I love Moon Knight. See, it goes back to the whole idea of reinvention. Because nowadays, when you want to reinvent a character, people like, recently Superman's bisexual, whatnot. Oliver Queen, new Green Arrow's son is asexual, whatnot. And they do like this hacky, like this like just not hacky, but like tertiary changes that like are very binary. Because that's really all you can do with them. Like, no one's going to want to see Superman as a form of energy again, okay? That one didn't pass. So now they tried to, quote-unquote, evolve the character by making him appeal to, more technically niche demographics, but, more passionate in the comic book industry. Like I said, making them different people of color, whatnot. And while it's all fine and good, I wanted to finish. That way I'm not...
Please continue.
Racist.
Please continue.
Yeah. Well, all that's fine and whatnot. Usually, whenever I see that, I groan, but not for the usual reasons of, they're wokenizing my comic books. It's like, no, comic books are always about invention. But when I see that, it just makes me think like, oh, they're lazy. It's a cop-out almost. Because I know for a fact they don't care that much most of the time. With Moon Knight, it's different because he can be anything.
Continue.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I very much am the opposite way. I remember when the whole Superman came out as bisexual thing, my first thought was, yeah, that makes sense. He's an alien. He was raised on Earth, but his views on sexuality would be very different. I'm in favor of discovering the benefits of remaking these characters to fit into different molds and draw on different experiences. I'm a really big fan of that. And honestly, that's same thing that draws me to Moon Knight. It's like you said, Moon Knight can be anyone, and especially as we've seen in the new Moon Knight the new Moon Knight show, they're not afraid to get fucking weird with it.
Yeah. Usually when I see that, I'm fine with it. Like She-Ra, for a great example, everyone hated on it for whatever reason. It turned out to be amazing.
She-Ra was great.
Yeah.
Everybody should watch She-Ra 7 times.
Yeah. But most times I find that whenever they do that binary switch, generally, I find it to be a low-effort thing to try to boost reader sales artificially and create culture warring. Maybe that's not their intention, but that's what it ends up doing, which of course drives up sales, and he presses good press. But with Moon Knight, you have to really try because he is so fucking weird, and it makes people think and gives them both that restriction gives him the most freedom possible to just try weird things. Like from psychological horrors to wanting his money back from Dracula. Like he can
He's never getting that money back.
Yeah, he's never getting that money back. He can like that line you said. It's hacky as shit, and like Batman couldn't say that line. Him saying "I'm the fucking Batman" is too much for people. For me too personally, but Moon Knight can say that shit because he said a lot of other crazy shit. Of course, he would say that because he's insane. But he can also say that and also then reenact the raid in the same breath.
Yeah, I forgot about that. In the run I was talking about, he essentially reenacts the raid, if memory serves.
Yeah, he can say that and then like talk down a hot situation by like giving out so much existential dread threats that the guy just quits and then lets himself be beaten in the
head. One thing that reminded me a lot you spoke of is in that video I'd watched earlier, I discovered that, and I'm gonna minorly get into the Moon Knight show. You and I have watched it, but just in general. In the comics, for the longest time, Mark Spector and Stephen Grant was essentially his version of Bruce Wayne. If he wanted to be a likable businessman, he'd take on the Stephen Grant persona. And then we get into and Mr. Knight, the detective in the suit, was essentially his own persona. And then we get into the new Disney Plus show. All of a sudden, Stephen Grant is by all accounts, the nicest, most genuinely good of all the Moon Knight personas. He's a fucking nerd. He's an ooh-woo soft boy, just one head pat away from donning the cat ears. And I love that. And
he's a little bit of a British man.
He's a bit of a British man.
British man with the ooh-woos. The ooh-woos.
Ooh-woo, governor. Pat me head. God, I said that.
Hey, you got a license for them cat ears?
You got a license for them thighs?
Yeah,
I gotta stop.
Them thigh highs are a bit too long, if you know what I'm saying. Just gotta pinch a little bit of them, a little bit of that pork meat. A little bit of pork meat. Too much of that, we're gonna tax it on you, Them Discord admin call tax.
No. Do not put Stephen Grant in the room with a Discord admin. Mark will kill him.
That's the thing. Mark is the Discord admin.
No. Where was I? Yes, I wanted to say they completely reinvented Stephen Grant, and I love that. He is, and they combined him with Mr. Knight, and it fits. That's the thing. One of the biggest things. I love Mr. Knight. He's mysterious. He's dapper. Well, obviously, there's comparisons to the Batman, but it feels like Batman's detective half perfect. Like, in the new Batman movie, Robert Pattinson plays up the detective angle of Batman, and I think Mr. Knight and him obviously fill the same archetype, and I love that archetype.
Yeah.
Continue.
I was going to say, Mr. Knight really is, like, he is kind of the most like Batman, but also almost the opposite, because Mr. Knight in the comics is, like, he's just Moon Knight but composed. That's all he is. He's all... Basically, the thought process of... What if Moon Knight was sane and like he's almost scarier as like
I love that
man composed.
And Mr. Knight in the comics gets up to some stuff.
Yeah, like I said, he protects vampire boys and girls, reenacts the raid.
Honestly, I am personally completely in favor of a man who protects our vampire youth and enacts the raid.
Yeah. It's like, did you get your shots? Yeah. Timmy, did you get your shots? No. All right, I'll drag a cat here. You can suck its blood.
Yes. Okay. God damn it! I don't know what to do with that.
Don't bother. It's not worth it. Oh, also, didn't he start dating a Catwoman?
Yeah, I don't remember honestly.
But yeah.
I'm very familiar with 2 runs of Moon Knight and very little else.
Yeah. That's really all you need, because every run of Moon Knight, it's so different.
Mm-hmm. That Heroes for Hire comic I was talking about earlier ended with Moon Knight killing velociraptors with his bow staff.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly Moon Knight.
Mm-hmm. Don't forget the time he ripped the guy's face off, too.
Moon Knight has killed a lot of people.
Yeah.
We don't talk about it a lot, and that is something I'm glad the new show hasn't strayed away from. Moon Knight is a murderer,
Oh
and he's
yeah.
just kind of allowed to do it.
He's not. He's not scared of anything. Because again, he's unhinged. I think Hawkeye. Like, we forget that Hawkeye just shoots people with bows, and they think, oh, that's not lethal. No, he kills people, but he just never dress. Like, in the end game, they dress it because he's Ronin. Like, he's able to kill people.
And the Ronin Rampage scene is my favorite scene in that movie.
Of course it is.
Look, I know what I stand for.
Yeah, you stand for what you thought was cool when you were 14 years old.
It is cool.
Yeah, with your fucking G.I. Joe fake katana doing the same moves in the mirror.
I'll have you know, I own a real katana.
I know you do, and that makes me sad.
A lot of things make you sad.
Yeah, like other people's happiness, which is why I'm bagging on you. But anyway, yeah. The Moon Knight show, I think we were talking about it, Steven is just a fucking nerd. He's a little baby. And it fits, because he is... Mr. Knight's not like, the uber composed, all the personalities and harmony thing.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, he's just a guy who's nice and thinks he's more detective-like.
The fact that
Mark...
the suit... I keep interrupting you, forgive me.
No, go ahead.
The fact that the suit, the iconic Mr. Knight suit that the internet was thirsting for in the lead-up, came about in such a sensible way that that's just something Steven would actually wear. It's just something he'd like to wear. It was brilliant. I remember when you and I watched that, we were freaking out. And I love that. It's an extension of his reinvention as a character, and it worked so perfect.
And also, I like the show. The show leading up really, like, some people are complaining initially, the first episodes where they cut, especially in the first one where they're cutting back and forth between the villages and like from scenes of action.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it just built up more of the fact that you really get into the mind of like what dissociating from your own body is like, probably in this like hyper exaggerated way.
And the terrible CGI on that one truck really did add to the effect.
Yeah, that wasn't even there. That was just a vision. Conchu was just there to fuck with him.
I honestly completely believe that Conchu would just give visions to Steven to fuck with him.
Yeah. He's like, duck, beer bottle. He's like a drunk dad.
You think that's why Mark wasn't too close to his mom? Because she ended up doing that to him, and now Conchu's just fucking with that?
Maybe. I do love them, because Conchu always is like a constant in the comics, but you never really know how much of a dick he's going to be. He's always going to be kind of a dick, but you never know.
He's the definition of the, hey, look at me, bitch meme. That's Conchu. He's just always poking and prodding at Mark and the others. I think that...
I love in the show when the second episode, when they go to like that weird, like, by the way, I just made a better block in London. No one's asked questions, even though we're probably not paying taxes to pay for this fucking water and electricity we're doing.
Yeah.
Conscious in the background, like, kill him. Do it. Kill.
I forgot about that.
Kill. Fight. Win.
And he's not just saying kill him. He's like, if memory serves, he's like telling him how to do, like, go for his throat, go for his nose.
Kick his cane
and
out.
Conchu wants him dead.
Kick him out his cane. Take out his pants.
Whoa.
No, it's just humiliating. It's psychological warfare.
We don't condone caning people in London. They haven't done that in a while.
Why not?
Last I heard, it's some kind of violation of one right or another. And the English kind of got in trouble for doing that a lot.
If the English believed in rights, they wouldn't be where they are today.
What do you mean? Still in de-imperializing?
Yeah.
They're still de-imperializing?
Yeah. I do love it when, on the fourth episode, Steven's like opening that sarcophagus. He doesn't want to do it. And we're both just like, nah, this is what you do, my guy. You're British.
This is in your English blood, defiling sarcophagi.
Yeah. Why don't you take a bite out of it? Because that's what they also did.
Oh, God. It's a British tradition to unwrap mummies.
Yep. It's like a Christmas present. Hard-earned Christmas present for being such a good little boy.
And one thing I do want to talk about is I don't know if she's in the comics. Layla, I don't know if she's addition to the show originally or if she's a comic character. Uh, I think she's been so far a really good addition because obviously I'm a bleeding heart liberal. I like I like it when they put more women in media. But I'm
Gross,
not
but
afraid to
okay.
admit I'm not afraid to admit when sometimes it feels like they could have been handled better. But Layla is, I think, perfect. She's competent. She very clearly is well informed, but
Yeah,
she doesn't feel like she's overcompensating for anything.
yeah,
She feels like she's earned her place in the cast.
yeah. Like she's not an idiot. She's not there because what am I doing? Like she's driving the plot actively. However, in the fourth episode, I could not help but feel like, yeah, we get it. Steven and her want to fuck while Mark is just in the
Yeah.
fucking corner. Like I'm gonna take my. Steven, when you wake up, you're gonna wake up with less and yet more parts attached to you than you fucking had before.
You think that right before Mark smacked Steven or whatever that is, he was screaming, "Keep my wife's tongue out your goddamn
Damn
mouth."
mouth. It's like we share the same mouth.
That is one thing I was thinking when we were watching that. Like, technically, yeah, Steven's kissing her, but like,
You're doing it.
yeah, I don't know how that would work. And
Either way, our dicks are wet in this scenario. It's a win-win.
I'm gonna come across as very ignorant. My partner is a system, and
System of a Down.
no, not a system of a down. I apologize in advance if you're seeing this. Oh God, yeah, I'm sleeping on the couch tonight
That's
or
not proving
tomorrow.
what I have.
What do you have?
Like a. I don't want to say like a raft. Maybe a raft.
A raft.
A raft.
Oh, you funny Peruvians. That was a joke. Don't clip that.
I will clip it as I clip this mag into my AK-47.
You clipped the mag into the AK.
Yep, I clipped it. I don't know how to work guns. I'm Peruvian.
I'm surprised. No. Okay, I gotta stop this raft joke before I say a no-no. Yes. What else is there to talk about Moon Knight? We've been talking about Moon Knight a lot more than I thought we would. There was a surprising lot of ground to cover here about the one guy.
Yeah. When I talk more about the episode, we're just talking about Moon Knight in general. I mean,
Yeah.
But yeah, I was saying in episode 4, I felt like there was a long duration where it's just like fucking they're making bedrooms out of each other the entire time, and I'm just like, we fucking get it. Like this is uninteresting because we know it's not gonna happen, right?
Honestly, I think it will happen, but it's gonna be the comic thing where I well and truly believe that Mark is gonna keep his promise and he's just gonna give the body to Steven at a point, or at least Steven's going to be the one who's in charge most of the time, and Mark comes out for when things get serious.
Probably. I mean, we don't even know how Longley's gonna play into this.
Oh, I'm excited for Longley, especially because Longley seems to be a psychopath. If what we've seen is true.
Yeah, we've only seen one scene where we know he's like directly responsible, and that was when they stabbed the 3 young dudes who I'm not even remember what they were doing in the story. They just died for whatever reason.
They killed Mark's informant for some reason.
Yeah.
And Longley, I guess, took that personally.
Yep.
One thing I do find just very silly. Mark, not only he takes control of Steven's body and he's on a flight to Cairo. Sure, that tracks. He had a contact in Egypt that he could still meet up with. Okay, sure. These random street thugs knew about the contact, got to them first, and they didn't have time to tell Harrow this. Harrow had other agents who knew Mark was in Cairo. How would they track that? Because they make a point that Mark isn't Egyptian. Layla is. Even still, though, Mark doesn't look particular. He doesn't look like a fish out of water. He blends into a crowd very easily because he looks like a real person. How did they tell that he was in Egypt? I don't know. I'm going fucking crazy here, Brister.
Listen, I stopped worrying and learned to love the random gaps in memory that explain away plot details that we don't need to worry about.
But like he was in control for the majority of that episode. There was no. Just gonna take a deep breath.
Moon Knight's great.
It is. That scene at the guy's the mansion party, just the fight scene alone was very inventive.
Yeah.
When I just getting fucking stabbed, transforms into Steven,
Yeah.
and then transforms back.
It's just.
I was very, very happy.
Again, it's just like. Why in the world do you have just like random training, just like spear? Also, why do you have real spears? Like, there's no way you do that. Like, as a friendly, it's not like pick up basketball. Someone's gonna die.
Well, maybe they're practicing to be winged hussars or something like that.
What, like like the Romans use those like specialized arrow tips to cut the heads off falcons?
Sure, we'll go with that.
I don't know, man. It's just dummy.
But
but it was a cool scene.
The fucking knight got Arabianed, or would that be reverse? I don't know. That joke was half baked. I'm still gonna stand by it.
Mm-hmm. Unlike Mark by Steven.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
But yeah, Moon Knight's great. We love the character because he's just a quirked up white boy.
He's not white.
He's a quirked up white boy.
He's certainly. Well, I guess his armor's white, and he is quirked up. He's real quirked up.
He's real quirked up. Too quirky for me.
In that latest episode, he got real quirked up and then bit a man in the hand.
Yep.
I found that so funny. Just the first time he's like, it's not like a proper martial art maneuver, but he hits the guy normally in a way you'd expect the Moon Knight mercenary to. Then for the other guy, he just starts nomming on that guy's hand. It's effective.
He's still sedated, technically.
He is.
You just got, okay, well, that was all my energy. Nom nom. Tastes like psychological breakdown.
God bless those actors at Disney. I hope they're paying well and not abetting war crimes again. Or just crimes against humanity.
Yep. Hopefully they're not gay.
Or in a Chinese concentration camp.
Yep.
Oh, Disney.
Oh, Disney.
They don't got the grapes.
They don't got the grapes.
Alrighty, you thinking it's time to move on to our next topic, or is there still a little bit more we can squeeze out of Moon Knight?
I had a smooth transition and you just fucked it, but yeah, sure. I was gonna say, speaking of, our love of the weird and creatively free, D&D. That's how we met after D&D. All.
Yes, indeed. Well, actually, we met on a Discord server for a visual novel, but D&D is what brought us together.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a different episode topic altogether.
Oh, yeah, we're going to get into that later. Yes, D&D.
Yeah.
I want you to tell me about your first experience in the D&D. What got you into the game?
My first experience in D&D was fucking awful.
Same here, actually.
So, I was in English, literally like actual English class, and in walks this guy, this kid. I don't remember his name. I'm just gonna call him Mark.
Oh, Mark.
But yeah, Mark was special in that he had fucked up legs, and so he had those hand crutches.
Okay.
And the fact that he wasn't in our class and he seemed to have purpose made me immediately pay attention because, like, that guy, walking is not a simple way to get into class. That's an excursion. He has a purpose for being here.
Oh, no.
And he did.
Okay.
He came into our class and was like, hey, we're doing this D&D thing. Does anyone want to join up? And I looked at it and I was like, huh, D&D. I've heard of this. Because at this point, I know what D&D is through, like, YouTube. By that point, I went to the comic store, so, like, I'm in the same, like, sphere of people who like it.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to try it because I'm a writer.
Yes.
That's one thing you gotta know about me, and pretty much the only thing. I would like to write a lot. I write in my free time. I write all the time. And
you sit with your little writer's cap in a Starbucks fucking dining room for 7 hours a day writing one page.
Nah, that was when I actually worked at Starbucks.
I forgot you were a barista.
I was. I was a bean artist.
There's a joke to be made there, but I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, that's what they called me in college. Ayo.
Oh, no.
That was a lie. I wasn't very social.
You are in college.
Still not very social. But
Fair.
yeah, no, online class. Only beans I have are the beans I fucking divvy out to myself because I'm poor. But yeah, I learned about D&D through that and just was generally interested because I come from a background of just wanting to write. Like, I did a lot of things. Like, I was on Amino RP servers. Remember Amino Kids?
I really wanted to join the For Honor Amino because apparently it had good fan fiction.
Apparently.
Yes, continue.
But yeah, I was on Amino. I went on a lot of roleplay forums online, which basically meant for me, it was like, hey, I have this cool story idea. You want to do it together? All right, yeah, I'll learn how to write sex. Sure. This outfit of an inflation fed into this somehow.
I roleplayed on World of Warcraft. I know your pain all too well.
Yeah. But yeah, I've always had the desire to do collaborative storytelling because I was so used to just doing it by myself.
Yeah.
And that led to me first, going to doing this cool literary magazine and then trying to do D&D. And so I just remembered his name. His name was Jordan. I talked to Jordan and he was like, D&D, I would give me some, please. What do I need? Do I need like cards or like a paper or something? And so he basically walked me through everything I needed to know, like character sheet wise, like mechanics. He didn't really focus on the rules. He just showed me like this is what it's about. And so our first time was meeting because apparently they already had a group, which made me question why the fuck was he recruiting? Because the way they played was in the library after school, which is only lasted for about an hour. And any good D&D session lasts for at least 3. So that was the fucking red flag immediately that I just didn't know existed yet because I was just so new to it. And they already had a bunch of people, like a party of 6, and then in comes my dumbass. And they all already knew what the fuck was going on. There were a lot of good people there. And basically the first session was just me watching them how to play. And they're like, I should have known that the next session we were going to have would be just us, me and the boys, because that group immediately split after that. Apparently there's some boiling tensions underneath between the boys and the girls.
It'd be like that.
And so I was watching them talk over each other, fucking argue about dumb shit that I didn't really understand, and I was just like, yeah, I can get into this. So I do my character introduction. I have this idea of because the D&D video I watched before this, just to get familiar, was a guy who talked about his character concept for a detective who was a compulsive liar and had to write down everything he lied. And I thought, I'm going to do that. Because your first idea is always about stealing something.
Yes.
And so I did that. That didn't go because the session fucking died. But basically, after that, me, Jordan, a guy named Dakota, and another dude, we kept doing it. We did it 3 more times, and generally it wasn't bad, but it didn't go anywhere, and it didn't foster this deep creativity. And so it took years later when I rediscovered the Chaos server and saw you and another guy we know, Euro, talking about it in the voice chat. And I just happened to, it was my second time actually popping in, because at this point I was new to Discord. And I just still I think at that point I was still socially incubated on the internet, because I just stopped being social. So this is my first time trying to be myself in front of new people for a long time.
Yeah.
And so I approached you guys gingerly, and you invited me to the server, the D&D server, and you guys reignited my like for D&D, and I actually learned the rules and shit and how it works.
I'm glad to hear that we could have a hand in that, because I've had the opportunity to play a lot of D&D with you, both as a fellow player and as a DM. And despite sometimes your unique strategies in both social and combat encounters, you are you've got a good mind for it, and you're always just so much fun to play with.
Yeah, sure, thanks.
Uh,
How did you start?
Okay, so mine started very similar. I had a childhood friend I grew up with down the street. His name was Ethan. Thing is, Ethan's a bit of a pussy ass bitch. But I was friends with him because he was the only other boy in the neighborhood back when I identified as a boy. And so
Back
one
when I
day,
was
I
a
think,
skater boy, just a skater boy.
see you later, boy. But
My
when I was,
peener is now skating away from me. Oh, it did a sick fucking ollie. It's gonna start. Oh no,
remind me,
my peener is doing a sick line. Oh my god, he's getting skate. He's gonna
remind
form
me to
a new
tell you,
body like a starfish.
remind me to tell you about some skaters when we're done recording. Yeah. So when I was about 15, I think he said, "Hey, you want to play some Dungeons and Dragons with me?" And thing is, I've heard about D&D because my dad played First Edition. And I was actually talking to my uncle the other day, and he offered to give me all of his old First Edition books next time I see him. But my dad told me stories of when he played First Edition D&D and about how he got punched in the face one time because he used the Wand of Wonder and got his party killed. And so I tell my friend, yeah. And then I didn't talk to this friend about D&D for like a year. And then when I was 16, I finally, all right, I'll make a character. First session is a one-on-one session where I'm making the character trying to understand D&D. Second session, I get introduced to a group of friends. There's Ethan, the DM, my friend Arnold, the gunslinging sloth of the party, and then my friend Jordan, who you might remember as a player in my Curse of Strahd game with you and a few others.
Yeah.
And there was one other guy, but he quit immediately. He was a giant weeaboo. So we start this game.
Webs.
Oh, you don't understand. He came to play D&D with a dark magician girl titty pad.
Like as a neck piece?
He'd roll all of his dice on it.
That's just not effective. The dice has
Yes.
to click clack, or else the magic don't spark in them.
Look, I never met this guy again. He seemed nice, but I also kept my distance from him. But so the game starts, and we all make our characters. I'm playing a very generic character, human paladin. The other two have played D&D before, and the Dungeon Master, Ethan, he's DM'd before. The thing is, I got along with the other two players. Arnold and Jordan were great guys. We were kind of murder hobo-y, not intensely. The problem was Ethan. Ethan as a DM was kind of everything you shouldn't do. He made fun of the players a lot. He would announce critical fumbles without telling anyone. So, I roll a nat 1 on my sword swing, and I drop my sword. As well, he would hand out free damage to us exclusively. So I remember one time, Arnold was trying to murder hobo somebody, and it wasn't going anywhere. But Ethan said, "All right, the barkeep pulls out a shotgun and shoots you for 72 damage. You're unconscious." Didn't roll any dice or an attack. Stuff like that. This D&D game had about 6 sessions, and I was there for 5 of them. Pretty standard D&D game. We got to stop the end of the world. It ended pretty dramatically. Along the way, a lot of stuff happened. Jordan's character died, and he had to replace it. And my character went from a devotion paladin to an oathbreaker accidentally. Because I got into a bar fight with someone, accidentally killed them with an ability, and lied about it. But the final session of the game, we spend 3 hours just trying to bust Arnold out of prison because he killed a man.
Yep.
We spend 3 hours trying to bust him out of prison, and we only spend like an hour doing what we actually went there for. And at this point, I'm 5 sessions into this game. I'm the only one taking it seriously, and I'm losing my fucking marbles. And Ethan made a mistake. He gave us an item that would instantly kill people. He expected us to just give it back to the person who lost it. We pick it up. I'm like, oh, this is cool. Oh, it shoots a spike. All right, put it in my pocket. Hello, sir. Have you seen me scarab that shoots a spike? No. Okay, carry on. And I don't know why. We're trying to save some prisoners, and the prisoners are just... He's making them really annoying, and I just lose, and I just start killing them.
So I started blasting.
Yeah. And so Ethan decides, all right, I'm mad. A horde of 10,000 goblins shows up. all of you roll death saves. In the end, only Arnold, the gunslinging sloth, survived, and the homeless guy Ethan invited to play D&D with us without asking any of us. And after that, the group fell apart for years. I just got back in contact with Arnold, and me and Jordan have been friends ever since, but that was my first experience with D&D. My first character died to a horde of 10,000 goblins.
Damn.
I
just realized that I lied, and that you guys weren't the first time I got back into D&D. It was really cemented me, but what I actually did was, I went on Roll20, and they have wanted forums. First of all, I had to find out what the fuck Roll20 was.
Yep.
And so they had wanted forums, and so I was just saying shit to anyone. I was just looking at it I don't know how the fuck to approach anything, because again, I just randomly decided I want to get back into D&D, and I didn't know what the fuck to do, so I was just looking, and eventually I found one guy by the name of Dynamite, and he had a Skeletor image, which was first welcoming because everyone else had either nothing or big titty goth vampire girls, which terrified me.
As you say with your current profile picture, which is goth and perhaps big titty, we might not know.
No, but yeah.
Yes.
And his intro is real simple. It's here's Saxonia, here's the world, make what you want to do. And it was very open ended. And so what I did was, I thought back to my first character, which was that guy who was a compulsive liar. And at this point, I played Thief, and so I realized how especially uncreative I was. And I thought, fuck it, I'm just going to be Garrett. And so how would I do that? And so my hook was, instead of a guy who was a compulsive liar, he was a guy who just told lies to get by. He was constantly shifting his identity. Circling back to Moon Knight. And so what I did was, for my application, quote unquote, I just decided to write it in character.
Ooh.
It was like a fireside chat.
Yeah.
And it was the first piece of creative writing I'd done in a while at that point too, because I was in a bit of a slump generally, which is why I wanted to get back into D&D, of course. And so when I did that, I later learned that it was that post was supposed to go down a few days ago. Mike had already gotten all the other people in the game set up. He had planned the session, the group to be just 5 people, and then I showed up because he forgot he still had it with this what he described as, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, I described as very effective and poignant yet still great character piece, and he was just fuck it, I gotta invite him.
Hell yeah.
And so I got invited, and so it was through that, he's great. He taught me everything about both D&D in general and then DMing. And the group itself was real welcoming, and we were all kind of newbies in general, and so it was really open, and I felt safe. And so because of that, I knew you guys talked about D&D in the KS server, and so that's why I approached you in voice chat, because I felt I had something.
Hell yeah.
And now you guys are the ones I play D&D with all the time.
Heck yeah, I'm glad you had such a positive reintroduction into D&D. I wish I can say I had the same. I had a very similar experience. I've just found out what Roll20 is, and there was the find a game thing. And I joined a game. It was described as essentially taking place in fantasy Las Vegas. It's a city. It's the city in essentially a giant crater of a meteor. The city of gods, of gambling, luck, cheating, and sex. It's supposed to be a scummy game. This is my second ever D&D character, so I made the most generic of characters, Elf Ranger.
The mailman of fucking D&D character archetypes.
Yes, indeed. So I get there. The party also is pretty cool. We have these 2 weebs. They were really nice. One guy who's playing some kind of orc wizard or fighter, and then someone who was playing a Wanti. The thing is, the party immediately clicked. We got along. It was great. The problem was the DM was 15 and just wanted an excuse to ERP.
Ooh, that's no good for the characters and the other people who have to fucking be in the room while you explain. Yeah, so then she lactated. Roll for fucking viscosity.
The worst part is, it wasn't far off. So the first session was just us hanging out in a tavern, as D&D is prone to start. The thing is, I want you to know, the DM thought he was so clever. The tavern was called the Merry Man and was owned by a man named Robin. That session ended with him giving us the tavern for some reason.
Well, you've ruined the property value of this and committed 3 murders. Here's the deed to the home.
And that was the end of the first session. We were kind of optimistic. One guy immediately booked it. He didn't want to touch that. He knew how the wind was blowing.
Yeah, he saw the fucking walls bleeding and was like, I don't think this is built on solid foundation.
Right. But the rest of us, we were in for a run. And the DM pings the server one day and is like, "Hey, and you want to do some off-session role play?" And the poor orc, the orc player, I don't remember if he was an orc. No, he wasn't an orc. He was a human fighter, and he ended up... Okay, I remember where I'm getting the orc part from. He made the mistake of saying earlier that he liked orc girls. Because this DM introduced me to what the Monster Girl Encyclopedia was.
Oh, no.
And that guy offhandedly mentioned, like, yeah, I like orcs.
Yeah,
so
I think
they do.
I like the aesthetic of orcs. I'm being open, haha, funny, horny, and then as most D&D things slowly evolve into.
Every D&D game is a dating sim at its core, don't at me. But, so they start doing some off-session roleplay, and this guy meets a giant orc girl, and they're talking, and eventually it becomes very awkward ERP. And I'm not going to share the gory details, even though they're burned into my memory. I'm only going to say the wizard was an adult. He wasn't like a writer or anything, but he at least was competent with a keyboard. You know, he could write a string of words that, like, yeah, this sounds pretty good. The DM was not. I always remember this. Eventually they got into an ERP scene. I'm going to remember this for the rest of my life. The wizard wrote up your pretty standard emote, to which the DM responded with, "Gives blowjob."
I do like the way you say emote is just like a Fortnite default dance, give blowjob. This sounds like a bad Roblox interaction.
The D&D game did not make it a second session. Or no, it almost did. It almost did.
And then everyone fucking realized what was happening.
That wizard immediately left after that.
I fucking can imagine.
By the end of the session, there were 3 players left, me and the 2 weebs. And we're not even in the game yet, right? But the DM starts talking about moth girls.
Okay.
I hate moths. I am not particularly a fan of moth girls. You know that funny moth girl VTuber out there? I'm sure she's a lovely person.
Fuck that bitch.
I just don't like moths in any form. So the DM starts saying how much he loves moth girls.
What about moth that has the cure for cancer?
I'm sorry, little one.
It's not a shotgun, it's a salt gun.
So the DM starts talking about moth girls, and you know what I say in response?
What?
Haha, only nerds like moth girls. And then I get banned from the server.
Banned. No appeal. How dare you?
Literally.
Oh
literally. So eventually the other 2 weebs DM me, and we start our own D&D game. That had its own thing, but that was my reintroduction to D&D. And oh my.
Off on the right foot on the wrong fucking tectonic plate.
Yes, indeed. And God, we have been doing this for an hour already, huh?
Yep. It's like we have such a close bond that our circadian rhythms sync up and become a feedback loop where it becomes almost white noise and noise cancellation, and time melts into its own social construct soup.
I'm not loaning you money.
We just fucking slurp it all up. We get all that cosmic energy in there. We've detached ourselves from the stream of reality. It's like, I need $20, and we just kind of just float off into... I tried to Jedi mind trick you. It didn't work.
Really? Oh. Well, you shouldn't have said that. I was pulling up my wallet as you spoke.
I don't take your Yankee dollars.
You only want Johnny Reb's Confederate bucks?
I.e. Walmart coupons.
If you cash enough, they'll let you get a new scooter.
Like I buy scooters. I just see a kid on a razor. I take one, and when I eventually get enough, I tape them all together, get a fucking boat motor, and just ride on like a fucking modern day chariot racer.
Is your goal to make the kill scooter?
The kill scooter. I will destroy all ankles.
God, I miss my scooter. Oh God.
I miss my dad. Anyway, that's the end of this podcast.
That's our first episode of the Dabble and Babble.
Yep, Dabble and Babble. I already know the episode title. Fuck.
What's the episode title gonna be?
Roll for dissociative identity.
My girlfriend's gonna kill me.
At least you have one to murder you. I gotta do it myself. Anyway,
at least
that's been the Dabble and Babble, folks. My name is.
See you guys later.
See ya.
I'm Pip.